Welcome to Behind the Pint. In this podcast, we raise our glasses to resilience. I'm your host, Spicy, and together we're going to explore stories of triumph, healing, and the strength found in vulnerability. Remember, sometimes the most inspiring tales are brewed from the darkest moments. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure today to have my guest. He's been a friend of the Fat and Spicy show for quite a while. Lisa. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having
There she
me.
is. It's my pleasure. Ever since we first met doing the Fat and Spicy show, I've always been enamored by your energy, your personality. You're out there. Uh, you have a good stream following. Your streams are always entertaining. And I said, why not get her not only in the Fat and Spicy show, but bring her on to Behind the Pint? Because something tells me there's just a little bit more behind the surface of Big Mama Lisa, the streamer. So
Uh,
today we want to talk to Lisa Metgzer. Lisa, welcome. So tell us, what are you up to these days?
these days I just got accepted to being the an official content creator for Once Human. So we're going to be doing some of that on Mondays.
Nice.
I've been enjoying it a whole lot. And besides that, we've been into Lorcana, and I've been putting those into my streams as well. So we're trying to expand a little bit of the content that we've been doing besides just Dead by Daylight.
Outstanding. Does the content creatorship come with a hefty paycheck?
No, unfortunately not. Usually, when you're a official content creator for any kind of a game, normally you wind up with like behind the sneak peeks, upcoming features. Like you get a little bit of an extra with your gaming experience, but not necessarily a paycheck. Those are usually sponsorships and things like that.
I got you. So you get more like a VIP access.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. You're like a VIP of the game.
Outstanding. That's awesome, though. Good for you.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So, like I said, I've always felt that there was more to Lisa than what met the eye. And we were talking before the show. We got to know each other a little bit, but I think the audience would really like to know. So let's start off with where you were born.
I was born in the midst of the cornfields of Illinois in a little place called I was about to say Springfield, and that is incorrect. Uh, Sugar Grove. There we go. I don't know why I suddenly went to Springfield, but yeah, it was Sugar Grove. It was a teeny tiny little place, and a bunch of corns and with a big train track that ran by. And that's one of our favorite things as a kid was to run up to the train track and get them to blow their horns a lot.
That's awesome. I used to live not far from a train track, and I will tell you, it was one of the most haunting and comforting things in the middle of the night to hear that train whistle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I don't know what
loved
it
the
is.
sound of trains. As long as it's not right next door to my window, at least give me a mile or
Yeah.
two difference, like a couple, like a little bit of a gap. Like it's a nice sound as long as it's not rattling your foundation.
So Sugar Grove, Illinois, uh,
Mhm.
small town.
Very, very small. And growing up, there wasn't a whole lot of variety when it came to people. And so when you stick out quite a lot. And I was unfortunately one of those kind of kids that stuck out quite a bit. My parents never went and got me tested to see what all might have been causing it, but I grew at substantial rates, both in both directions, tall and sideways, um, very, very quickly. I was the
Mm.
size of a full grown adult by the time I was 10 years old. I was 148 pounds. I was 5'2", 5'3", um, and I was just gargantuan in size compared to my classmates. My classmates would be standing next to me, and they were at my shoulder or less of my normal
Wow.
height. Yeah.
I think we have a
I
picture of, I think we have a picture of you, with standing next to your classmates,
Yeah, yeah. All of those kids are my exact same age. They
and
are
that's
the
I'm
same
assuming
age
you
I
in the
am.
gray dress?
Yeah, yeah. The tallest one there.
Wow. By a
I
foot?
actually had yeah, yeah, by quite a bit, by quite a bit. I actually used to joke that one day I would be 6 foot tall and I would become a basketball star, except I have absolutely no vertical reach, and I stopped short at 5'10". Crushed my dreams real quick.
Is that how tall you are now? You're 5'10"?
Yeah, I'm 5'10". I'm
You're
5'10".
taller than
So
me.
yeah, I'm taller than the average lady. My stature never changed in that department.
So growing up, parents, talk to me about your mom and dad.
My mom and dad were technically my grandparents. They adopted me. But I do have like a birth mother and a well, those are my great grandparents technically.
Oops.
Yeah, that is my me as a very angry teenager though, which
You look
I
angry. Well, how come you're so angry?
well because honestly because of how I grew up. Because like I said, I was saying I grew up growing up very different from anybody around me. Uh, just in sheer size, just in sheer size alone, I was very different from anybody around me. I would actually scare kids when I would walk up behind them because I moved very quietly, but then I was like the size of an adult, so they always thought they were about to get in trouble because a teacher was coming up behind them, was just sneaking up on them like a panther in the night, and they would get very scared of it. And at first, like if you look at birthday pictures, I have lots of kids with me at my birthday parties and things like that. Um, but it's that thing where like you're young enough where if you invite the whole classroom is going to come regardless.
Right.
Uh, but as, time goes on, the wonderfulness that is childhood is children begin to pick apart anybody that's different from themselves. And they begin ostracizing those people and mocking those people. So as each year passed, my circle of friends got smaller and smaller and smaller. Um, and people treated me very cruelly. Like by the time later in elementary school, not even outside of elementary school, I was getting like mood at just
Hmm.
walking by.
Oh.
I would be given fake notes from fake people saying that they had crushes on me just for people to laugh. I had I actually had one person that I never even spoke more than maybe 5 sentences to, but she never liked me. And at one point outside when we were walking around in the gym or for gym class, we had the option to walk around. It was outside on, like, the track, and on the side of the track, it, like, went down a hill, and there was, like, debris and stuff down there, and she came over, and she tried to shove me off the path and down into the ditch, right, where I would have gotten hurt, but, you know, Prius versus semi truck, right? You're not gonna push one with the other. So, that was the one time I ever actually defended myself, like, physically speaking. And when she pushed me, I turned and I swung at her, and she just barely like held up a water bottle, and I punched the water bottle, which would then smacked her in the face. And literally, we said no words, no words. She said nothing to me. I said nothing to her. She just came, tried to push me. I retaliated. She walked away. She apparently went to the nurse's office for a swollen cheek because of the bottle hitting her in the face. That was it. Never even spoke to this person really. And
Wow.
she tried to do that to me. But yeah, I had fake invites to school dances and all that kind of stuff. And the more ostracized that I became, the angrier I became because I wasn't being seen as a human being and just as a joke. And that as a kid really winds up tearing into you. That people don't see any value in you other than a target for mockery.
Yeah.
And so as each age passed, my anger became worse and worse. And the problem with that being also is also didn't have good brain chemistry either. So it wasn't just the physical outlook, but I also had things like ADHD that is not treated and anxiety levels. And I was chugging like gallons of caffeine every day, which is, triggering the heck out of the anxiety. And so I felt constantly like I was insane. Every day from probably the time I was about 13 until 30, I thought I was literally an insane person because I would have so much anger and paranoia about people around me that it was like screaming in a whirlwind in my mind.
Wow.
It was just like I could see myself behaving in a way I didn't want to behave, but could not have the willpower strong enough to not act in that manner. So like it got to a point where like I scared people. I scared people so much that by the time I was in high school, I was getting called to the principal's office to have my book bag checked because they thought I had hit lists, that I had bombs on me, that I was a threat to other people around me.
Just
Because
because of your
my
attitude from getting bullied all day, huh?
Yeah, yeah, because I was so angry at everyone and everything. At one point, I even wound up throwing shoes at my parents because I was just in that whirlwind of anger and resentment. And my father was quick to correct that attitude, but just enough to like graze my cheek with a fist, but nothing like
Shit.
more than that. But yeah, he was pissed. He was very pissed when I threw those shoes across the room at my mother. And like, if you were to ask my dad, he would be like, "Yeah, there were years where you were just like a dark creature living in our house."
And you don't
But like,
realize it when you're in the moment, right? Because you're so consumed within what's going on with you, you don't see what you're projecting to other people, right? I mean, you weren't self-aware of what you were doing to them, were you?
not really. It was usually like it's kind of like your fight or flight's been activated and you're in a constant state without break. So
Mm.
like you're retaliating because you feel like you almost have to, and then it's only when you're by yourself or with your thoughts that you're like, you didn't have to actually be that way. There was no excuse for that. And the greatest example I think of, which people don't know this movie, and I need to like suggest this movie forever and ever and ever because it's my favorite of all time. It is a movie called Shinbone Alley. It's an animated movie from like the 1970s about a cockroach and a cat, and they're best friends. But the alley cat is like the sleazy, like sleeps around kind of girl, and the cockroach wants her to become an upstanding lady, like a house pet. And he finally gets her to be a house pet, and he comes to try to visit her, and she's miserable in this life that he wanted for her. And so she kind of retaliates against him. She like belittles him, shows him that there's poisons in the house, and like throws him out. And after he's walked away, she's standing there looking at herself in the mirror like, You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that to poor little Archie. Mahitable, I don't like you anymore." And that was pretty much the how I was for like 12, 15 years of my life was
Jesus.
was that. Was just could not stand to look at myself in the mirror, could not stand people near me, but was lonely and wanted people. So it was a constant self-sabotaging of relationships and all that kind of stuff. And it was just
Let's go
it
back
was really a
let's go back to
nightmare.
your grandparents, which, before the show, you told me you call mom and dad, so they were your adopted parents. How old were you when you went to go live with them?
From birth. They
Oh, from
adopted
birth, right
me.
away.
Yeah, yeah. They adopted me pretty much straight. Their names are actually on my birth certificate. It's not my birth
Oh,
mother or my biological father.
that's
Um,
unusual,
it
huh?
it it is. It's very unusual when I actually looked at my birth certificate and saw that it was actually their names, but I know for a fact that I'm not biologically their child. I
Yeah.
was like, that's weird, but okay. I thought the actual birthing people are supposed to be on these things, but okay.
So do you know how old they were when they, adopted you, when they took you in?
Um, My mother was 49 and my dad was 51, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. If somebody came to me at 51 and was like, "You have to start over with an infant," I'm moving to Mexico. I don't think I could do it again. My kids are 10 and 11, or my boys are 11, my daughter's 13, and I'm just like, "No more. After this, I couldn't think about it." So, I mean, good for them. How did they take to raising you like that?
Um, I mean, they treated me, in fact, they weren't planning on telling me that I was even adopted until, like, I was much older.
Really?
Like yeah, until, like, 10, 12. Like, my birth mother was like an aunt,
Mhm.
and my sister was still my sister, but, like, it never crossed my mind, like, why my sister wasn't in the same house as me. Um, things like that. So, like, my brother's my uncle, my mother's my sister, and like, everybody has a double role in my life.
Sure.
Which
Was
when you just randomly blurt that information, it kind of like freaks people out a little bit. They start playing the Sweet Home Alabama theme song.
was your mom and your biological mother, was she in your life at all? Did you spend time with her growing
Uh,
up, or was not so much?
not not really, not really. Because like we moved, she stayed in Illinois, and we moved to Georgia when I was
Mhm.
like 7 years old. But she was wonderfully the person who, at 4 years old, took me into the bathroom, lifted up her shirt, showed me the scar on her stomach, and said, "Those are not your parents. I'm your parent, and this is where you came from." So,
Oh, I'm sorry,
abandonment
time out.
issues right off the bat.
Yeah, time out. We're gonna go dissect that shit because how old were you?
4. I was like 4.
Did it were at 4 years old, were you able to comprehend what she was telling you or not put it together all the way? How did you take that at 4? I mean,
I
the
took
thing
it
to tell a
at
4-year-old.
at face value, that
Really?
these are facts. And now there was a part where I don't remember, but my mother told me about it, was that not long after that visit, I was riddled with nightmares, and I would tell my mother that there was a darkness coming for me and was ripping my parents away from me. And and I would be so upset that sometimes I would wind up waking up sobbing and dry heaving and throwing up from fear.
I bet.
Yeah, narcissist parents, they're
Wow.
great.
No, I mean, just what a load to lay on 4-year-old. Like,
Yeah,
you can't wait till a teenager or something? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. That's not for me to judge. I know people are different. Um,
yeah. Yeah, I
so
would
going
never
to school.
suggest telling a kid that ever,
No, hell
until they're,
no.
like, double digits. They gotta be double digits, man. They need
Now,
time to be able to have emotional processing.
I was a little different. You're right. Um, my parents are I was raised by 2 gay guys. Everybody knows that if you watch the show enough.
Yeah.
Adopted at birth like you. So I didn't know any different. Uh, it was it was told to me when I was about 5 or 6. Hey, because I asked, "How come John has a mom and I don't?" So dad talked to me and he kind of explained, "Well, you had a mother, but she had things going on in her life, so we that's what he said. So we adopted you." He didn't tell me any more specifics. What I found out later was that, I lived in Portland and my mom was, she got knocked up by a Rose Festival sailor. Like, the ships would come into port in Portland,
Yeah.
and he was just a sailor on a ship who knocked my mom up and, didn't wanna have a kid, so she gave it to the parents. But, you were in school, with them. Were they active in your school life? Like, did PTA meetings and all that stuff, keep up on your homework?
My dad, not so much, but that was because he was working a lot. He used to work for Caterpillar, and he
Mm,
worked all the time. My mother was the stay-at-home mother, and she was my biggest supporter. She went to all the things that silly little kids want to do growing up, trying to discover who they were as a human being. She went to my art classes when I wanted to take art lessons, band for 3 years, incorrectly blowing on the clarinet, um, choir, literally just everything. I dabbled in probably everything you can think of, from Spanish to psychology to honors, anything I could get into that wasn't a physical sport, because that was a no go for me. But everything else was great. Now, I did do a sport once upon a time. I did soccer. Um, I was god awful at it.
I think
Mainly
we have a
because
picture of you in a soccer uniform
yes,
here. There it is.
yeah, yeah. There's me with the most unfortunate haircut I have ever had in
I
my entire life.
I was I when I first saw the picture, I didn't want to I was like, that is a '70s haircut almost that got carried over into, like, the late '90s. I didn't want to say it, but I think I had 2 babysitters and 3 teachers with that same haircut.
Yeah, that's not what I ordered. That's just what I got.
That's not what I
So I unfortunately had that for that year. And I was in soccer. I was not very coordinated. I it hurt my chest to run. Like deep breathing hurt my chest. So I didn't do that more than one season, and we were called the Noonan Nightmares, and not because we were scary, because it was a nightmare to ever be on our team. We had 0 games won.
Oh,
And
no.
I think the funniest thing is just like in any other grade, because this is still like elementary school. This is me at like 10, 11. So a little bit
It's you at
past
10
that
or
other
11?
one. Yeah, I think that's closer to 11.
Well, you did grow up.
Like
You look
like
like you're almost 14 there.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, that's me as I was not in middle school yet. I was not in
Wow,
middle school yet.
wow.
And so, all my teammates came up to only my shoulders, and when I run, like I don't think I ran too much differently than anybody else, but like I ran with my elbows a little bit out, right? And I actually had during one game a referee like flag me for like I guess dangerous gameplay or whatever because the other team thought that I was going to be trying to be violent with my elbows. And the thing is it would be a little bit detrimental if I were to ram somebody with my elbow because I'm not hitting their chest. I'm hitting them in the face if I do that.
Oh,
So
that's
I got
right, because you got the height on them too.
I got a massive height on them. So I wound up running the rest of the game with my arms pinned to my side like a penguin, and that was the
So you
only
went
game
from
we
one
got
extreme
close.
to the other.
Yeah, from one extreme to the other because my size made a difference. I got called out for my size, for my body.
At how old was this?
Like
10,
10,
11.
11, 10, 11 years old.
Uh, when did you start getting into the dating scene? Was it early? Was it late?
I did it pretty much on time, I think, but I think just because I felt like I needed to. So like in middle school, I chose myself my very first boyfriend, and how I did it was I sat there in my desk and I was like, other girls my age are starting to get little boyfriends. I'm supposed to get a little boyfriend. So I looked around the room and I sat there and I measured with my hand the distance between my belly and and my desk and picked a boy whose body was closer to me than anybody else's, and I asked him to be my boyfriend. He actually accepted though. What's funny though is because we were sitting down, I didn't see the height difference. So he was
Oh,
a short little dude whose face was like to my boobs, which I already had by the way. They were there already. So he came up to only about here, here to me. That was my
sound like
first
me and
little
my wife.
boyfriend. But that was a relationship that obviously didn't last very long, very superficial.
Yeah.
Had like nothing in common with each other. And I became
Well,
a
at
little
that
bit
age,
more
what do you know?
isolated.
Because of
Well,
that?
I well, not really because of that, but because like nobody else had any interest.
Mm,
Like other boys want like, the tinier little girls, the ones cuz they haven't hit their height spurt yet either, so having a woman like a full foot taller than you is not kosher for most
I get.
guys,
Yeah.
especially little boys.
Yeah.
Um but I had this wonderful thing called the internet my parents gave me without really realizing
Oh,
that there needed to be some censorship happening. They should have
some
been looking over
guidelines.
my shoulder more.
Oh, what happened?
Yeah. Well, by the time I was about 12 or 13 years old, I was in the chat rooms and I was starting to talk to older guys, people that were giving me attention, that were making me feel valuable as a person.
And
I
how old were you
just
doing this?
12 or 13 years old.
You said about that time you got started.
Mhm. And these guys were 18, 19, 24 and married.
Did they know how old you were?
They were very aware of how old I was. They were very aware because the old thing that happened on AIM chats like age, sex, location,
Yeah.
ASL. Yep, they knew. They knew flat out because I generally didn't lie about it. I think once in a while I would lie and say I was 16 instead of 14, but they
Still,
were aware that I was a child, that I was a child,
Jesus.
and they gave me all the attention I needed. And all I had to do was call them in the middle of the night for phone sex or show them my boobs on camera.
Seriously? Were
Yeah,
you doing that? Were you calling these guys?
yeah. I was calling these guys in the middle of the night, um, because a lot of girls, boys, kids that do these kind of stupid things where they flirt around and do sexualized things with adults, um, you know, they crave that attention, and I crave that attention. But I was also just a little bit smarter than the average bear. So like I did things to cover my tracks appropriately, and I did things to make sure that I stayed safe. So like I never ever told them my exact location. I never met them anywhere. I never went to go meet anybody anywhere. I didn't do that kind of stupid thing until I was an adult and thought I could fight back.
Right, sure.
um, um, and I would buy, like, I would go to Walmart with my parents and I would sneak off and I would quickly buy a phone card in order to call these guys. And they were from everywhere, from Tennessee to England to just about anywhere you
Oh,
can
you're
imagine,
doing this
really.
internationally.
Yeah, I was an international child ho.
I
But we
didn't mean it like
had
that. I'm sorry. I hope it didn't come across like that.
no, it's fine. But yeah, I was calling all kinds of guys in the middle of the night, and they
Wow.
would talk to me about things like BDSM and stuff like that. And oh, when you're 16, we'll start training you properly and all that kind of good stuff. So
Seriously.
yeah,
Jesus Christ.
and then
Anybody's wife ever find out about it?
actually yes. Well, actually, kind of. What wound up happening is so there was a guy who went by the alias of Memphis. That wasn't the guy's real name. And me and my bestie would call him up together to do phone sex type stuff. And one night we dialed the phone number, and instead of him, it was a woman who was kind of mad that we had called in the middle of the night. I was like, "Oh, my bad. I'm sorry." So we hung up. I dialed the exact same number as it was written, as we had called it many times before. Same woman answers, more pissed off. Well, that ended that conversation with that guy, obviously. I don't know if she ever pieced together what he was doing
I was
or
gonna say to
not.
be a fly on the wall after that conversation, waking him up in the middle of the night. What the fucking hell?
Like, why are there little kids calling our house?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you explain that one? How do you pull that out of your ass? So
Oh,
you stayed
probably.
safe, but you did it.
Hmm.
Was it more for the attention and to feel wanted because you felt like nobody around you could give you that? Or was it looking for a male figure in your life that could step up? Or, I mean, where did that come from?
No, not really a male figure. It had everything to do with just wanting to be wanted.
Just wanting to be wanted.
Um, yeah, because I mean, from the fact that my birth mother gave me away, to my classmates my own age saw me as a monster to laugh at, to friendships I was destroying because I would constantly be pushing and pulling them away until they couldn't take it anymore. And then I also had even my cousins at one point, and that's actually what fractured me from most of my family, was that I grew up with my cousins and we played all the time, and it was actually through my cousins I first started learning that my body was even different. Because as little kids you take baths together and stuff like that. Like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
families do that.
Yeah.
You all bathe together. And
Yeah.
by the time
I
I was
my
about
little cousin.
7 or 8 years old, like my cousin, my same age, like I think she was less than a year younger than me, was so much smaller than me. And then I'm looking down at my body that's big and round with like little stretch marks already forming. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, we're not the same. And I stopped like bathing around them. Like when, in high school, you have like locker rooms and stuff. I wouldn't change in there. I would go to a closet or something and change. Like I didn't want to undress in front of anybody. Um, but growing up, they were like my best friends, and I played with them all the time. And then one Christmas, I'm running around. We're doing like a hide and seek kind of thing, and then we have like a Jack and Jill bathroom, like bathroom,
Mhm,
room. And I'm
mhm.
coming around, and I get to the door, and I hear her. She had been gifted like a cell phone for Christmas or whatever, and she was talking to somebody, and I just hear her say, "She's such a big fat loser." And it shattered my heart so bad that I completely like severed my feelings for anyone in that family at all, because it was such a betrayal to my heart. And I would lash out at them constantly and push them back constantly until, now we got to adulthood, and, I wouldn't even be invited to weddings or anything anymore.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So, in getting ostracizing, it almost sounds, in my opinion, you ostracize yourself from the family because of the way they treated you, but did you find in high school, did you have any good close friends? Like, people that you could relate with or grab onto for support? Anybody?
Um, Not a lot. Like I said, like as each year passed, my group got smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm.
We had um, boyfriends that cheated on me because I wouldn't give them sex, even though I would like do sexualized things like or heavy petting or whatever. Like he cheated on me with
So,
somebody who would give him sex.
but not to interrupt, but I'm really curious. You're still doing these things online, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm still
So,
doing those things online.
and I'm just trying to understand because I don't, the line between doing it online with, is it because it's a stranger versus somebody that you know in school on a day-to-day basis, being sexual with them or whatnot? Because I know most teens around
Um,
16, 17 are at least experimenting.
well, I didn't want to risk the chance of becoming a pregnant teenager in high school or anything like that. I wanted like if I was going to accidentally wind up with a kid, it needed to be after I had already graduated and I had some sort of foundation in life.
So you were at
Um,
least had the whereabout to know that about yourself.
yeah, yeah. So like I
And I
wouldn't
can
go
only
all the way
pray
with
that the
anybody
rest of the
until I
kids
was
did.
after high school.
Good for you. Like I said, I wish more kids understood that, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like there's risks no matter how careful you think you are, and I promise you, no matter how much they talk about the pullout game does not work. It
Oh, no,
doesn't.
no, 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 no,
You're
no,
just
no.
gambling with percentages. That's all you're doing.
I agree
It's
with that
just
100%.
percentages.
Ask me how I got the twins. Uh, so, are your family still with us? Your mom and your dad?
um, so my dad is still here,
Mhm.
and my dad. That's one thing I didn't mention was that when it comes to my father, like he's a very loving man, but he has always been hyper fixated on people's weight and his own
Mm.
weight. So I grew up with him constantly making comments about my size, about what I ate, about that kind of stuff. And now I have to go through that again now because I moved back in with him. Now I moved back in with him because my mother passed away, and she passed away in 2021. My mother had always been petite, and when she's died, she had basically starved herself to death. So she weighed probably about 50 to 60 pounds.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Skeletal, very skeletal. Um, and my father has the early onset of dementia. So he can't remember to do things like take his medicine on time and all that kind of stuff. He needs help. So my brother originally was with him, but he had already commissioned a house to be built and he moved into his new house. Um, so I sold my home and I moved in with my father to take care of him. So he does make comments about my weight, about my food, about all that kind of stuff constantly. So we're back
Even
to
now.
that. Even now,
Even
even
now.
now,
Jesus.
it's a constant. It's an almost daily comment. Um, but moving back in with him gave me the opportunity to start trying to take care of myself better. So when it comes to taking care of myself, and actually learning to actually love myself. It's come in stages. So like for most of my life, felt insane with the rage, with the anger, with the anxiety. And then by the time I turned 30, I learned the little secret that caffeine triggers anxiety. And then I started
Who
giving
knew?
up. I know, right? I had no idea. I literally had no idea. So I gave
That
up
made me
on
wanna
it.
drink my coffee.
I gave up on it and I started taking it in a lot smaller doses, and suddenly the whirlwind is gone. The
Mhm.
whirlwind doesn't exist other than in random times when I've taken a little too much caffeine again. Because I still like my iced caramel coffees from McDonald's. I'm sorry, that's not sponsored, but
We
I
all
love
have
that
guilty
drink.
pleasures, right? We all have to
Yeah,
treat ourselves
that's
to
my
something.
guilty pleasure is that. So like I have to be careful not to have too much of it too often or it triggers it again. Um and then in 2019 I tried to go to the gym, and that's when I learned that no, my body is just really really different. Like it's not as simple as, people would yell at you and be like, "Well, just push away the plate. Don't eat.
Yes,
Eat in a
yes,
deficit." All that kind of good stuff.
yes.
And growing up, I did those kind of things without any change. My weight has never gone backwards. It has only expanded, right? Where I was 150 pounds by the time I was 10. I was 200 by the time I was in middle school, 250 out of high school, nearing about 300 in college, and then finally topped out at 361. Um, so like I just kept exponentially growing my entire life, not nonstop. Um, when I was in middle school, I switched to diet sodas because that was supposed to be, you were getting rid of
Right?
your calories from that. That
Just
doesn't
1
work.
calorie.
Yeah, and I was always active. I had physical jobs for most of my life, flinging freight and all that kind of stuff. And then I would go to the gym. I would take the lunch money my parents would give me, and I would just pocket it t- to hang out with my friends at the bowling alley on the weekend. And I would skip meals and I wouldn't eat and all that kind of stuff, and none of it ever mattered.
Nothing
Not
worked,
a
yeah.
lick of it ever mattered. And then we get to 2019, I'm 30, I've learned caffeine's my enemy, started getting rid of my caffeine intake, and then I was like, I'm going to try real hard one last time. And for 6 months I ate maybe 1200 to 1700 calories, which is clearly a deficit for what
Yeah,
an adult's supposed to have.
yeah.
I went to the gym 2, 3 times a week. I switched most of my drinking to water. And in 6 months of hard work, nothing.
Nothing.
I maintained weight, did not lose. I maintained. And then at that point, I was 348. I gave up again. Just was like, well, I guess I'm just destined to be fat. There's literally nothing I can do. Literally nothing I can do. Um, but the blessing of having to sell my house to move in with my father came with, okay, let's try one more time, because at least then I'll show like I'm doing something and maybe his comments will slow down. It didn't slow down at all. But I basically
You
went
can't
just
teach
to
an old dog new
hopefully,
tricks.
yeah, hopefully to make him stop harassing me. Doesn't
Sure.
work. Um, but so I replaced my house payment with basically my wellness payments. So my chiropractor, because my back had gotten so bad that I could not walk. Turns out my hips had become so displaced that my one leg was shorter than the other by about 2 inches.
Oh, no. And then
Yeah,
when you
it was
compensate, you throw the other side out.
well, not so much that. It's more of the muscles and the nerves were being so pinched from the out of placement bones
Yeah,
that I literally couldn't walk, and I was like, well, if I need to take care of my father, I need to be able to be prepared to
yeah.
possibly take care of him if he becomes bedridden. And I can't do that if I can't walk. So I started going to the chiropractor. Then I took up a gym membership, got a personal trainer, and through my personal trainer and dietitian, I also now spend a good chunk on protein shakes. We have been working together for the past 9, 10 months, And for the first time in my life, my weight has gone backwards. I have gone from 361 to 327. And
Lisa.
I was supposed to go again today, but I threw my back out really bad because
Uh-oh.
I wanted to surprise my husband when he was out of town. And I moved furniture around the house so I could build him a little gaming section just for him because his office is in a closet and it's hot and he's miserable back there all the time. So I built him a little spot in our bedroom where he can be closer to the fan and he can look out the window and get natural light. And he has a little gaming setup right there away from his HIPAA protected workstation in the closet.
Right.
So I did all of that for him and I cleaned up my studio area. So now I moved the bed and everything in here. I moved furniture all over the place, threw my back completely. So I skipped going to the gym and getting my weigh in today. We're going to have to do it next week, but I will be posting that wellness update on my socials
Please do,
as
and we're
I
gonna
get
get
there.
I'm sorry. You have to forgive me. I got weepy hearing about you, I usually don't, but, hearing about the inspiration. Listen,
Yeah. Hmm.
I know that it's not easy, but you found love, you have a husband, you're married. How long have you been married?
Hmm. Um, we actually don't go by how long we've been married. We go because the years before marriage, they count. They don't
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to just be thrown
absolutely.
away. We have been together for 12 years. This August, we will be together for 12 years.
Beautiful,
Um,
beautiful.
he he's been the best part of my life, really. He knows every dark secret. He knows every wrong I've ever done. Loves me despite of it. He met me online on a dating app, and he
That was my next
liked.
question, how did you meet?
Yeah, we met on a dating site called OkCupid,
Okay,
and he
Cupid.
he was compelled to message me because in my picture I had black lipstick and eye makeup and a bright neon pink wig. And and he wanted to meet me, and our meeting was probably the funniest thing in the world. Because when I met my husband, he wasn't in the best of places in life either. He lived with his brother in basically a shack, did not have a
Mhm.
job, did like writing work for just enough money to put like ramen noodles in the bowl, and that was about it. No car, no driver's license, like all that kind of good stuff. But we met. He went up to a place called LaGrange Mall in
Mhm.
Georgia. If you've ever been to LaGrange and seen LaGrange Mall, that's not a mall.
It's not
It's
a mall,
not.
she said.
It's not a mall. It is two shops connected by like a it used to be a pizza restaurant. I don't know what it is now, but it used to be connected by a little pizza restaurant, and that was like it. That was it. It was a skeletal remains of what might have been a mall. Um, so we were gonna meet there, but I couldn't find the mall because it didn't look like one. So I kept driving past it, and I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm like, I don't know where this place is. So he walked up from the mall to the road, and because I didn't know what he looked like really, because I don't translate picture photos to real
Sure,
life person very well.
I get that.
And we kept crossing paths on the highway back and forth like a Benny Hill moment. You could
Jesus.
hear the music playing in the background every time we bypassed each other. And then eventually uh, we met, we went in, we ate pizza and had deep fried Oreos and talked, and he fell in love with my big fat butt. That he will flat out admit that to you too. He just likes the fact that I have a ginormous tushy.
Hey,
Is
you know, heart wants what
he's
the
an
heart
ass
wants.
man.
I'm not gonna argue with
Yeah,
that.
he is an ass man, and I had plenty to give. So, um,
I'm
but
not to be
yeah.
crass, but, we had a friend in high school that he was a big fan of the booty, and,
Mhm.
that's what he would tell us. He's like, "I just want a girl that's like an all-you-can-eat buffet." Cool,
I
man.
love that. I
I
love
do too.
that.
So, let's kinda take it all back in perspective. So, we've grown up, we've had problems with, body positivity, kids can be terrible and mean. You tried to find attention online. through whatever means you thought was appropriate, but you were safe about it. Um, grandma as your
My
support
mom.
staff, your
Yeah.
mom, yep, uh,
Mhm.
being with you and taking care of you. Now you've grown up, you've kinda learned the ways of navigating life as somebody who, has dealt with weight, just like me and my wife both, you know? My wife's a big girl, and, now you own it. You took it and you ran with it, and that's what got me was your big mama Lisa as a streamer, and you
Mhm.
got the ears, and you got the cowbell, and the gloves, and the thing. What what when you started streaming, was that did you do that when you first started? Was that, like, the first thing you did, put that on and then go live, or did you have to evolve that?
That was an evolution. Everything to do with my gaming has always been an evolution. Because like I first started in 2020 with the downfall of the world.
Mhm.
Um, and I started with my PlayStation 4, and I would just game on there, playing with my friends, playing Fortnite, Dead by Daylight, things like that. And I got enough attention within like 2 months maybe of actually focusing on it, that I was able to get affiliated. And then as a treat for being affiliated, that's when I upgraded to my PC. And then I've kind of toyed around because like my name is the Big Mama Lisa, and I chose that name because I'm big. My name's Lisa, and I might not be a mother, but I'll whoop your ass like one.
Atta
So
girl.
that's how I picked my name.
Atta girl.
So,
Love
so
that.
eventually, at first I thought I was gonna go with like a more of a family type theme, right? That everybody's going to be my family, everybody's going to be my babies, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. But the more I sat with him, like, no, like I'm a goofball. I'm a goofy person, and I'm not motherly, not really. I'm protective of my friends. Like I can
sure.
pick on my friends all I want to, but you're not allowed to.
Right.
Uh, like that kind of a friend. Um, so then I wound up just like I wanted a little mascot, so I made Desi, my little pink and black cow.
Yes, I
And I
love
was
it.
like, you know what? I'm gonna just lean into the cow because you know what? If people are gonna moo at me all my life, if people are gonna keep calling me cow online anyway, just be a fucking cow and own it, man. I'm a cow, bitch. Moo.
Moo. I love
And
it. I've always loved it. The first time I saw it, I will tell you the truth, it was shocking because you don't see people positive about themselves like that can own it and stand up for it and say, "This is what and who and how I am, and you all can go screw off if you don't like it." And I was like,
yeah,
"This
I'm the
chick,
mother
man, she
heifer.
got it." Right?
I'm the mother heifer. What you gonna do?
Um, we're about ready to wrap this up. Um, anything that you could really tell from the bottom of your heart to some of those kids out there that have been, dealing with weight issues and, like, not being confident in who they are because of it?
What I have to say is not one answer will ever be the right answer. That's
Okay.
that's just reality, and that you're gonna find that to be the truth with just about anything that you're facing in your life. And if you feel like you're standing in that whirlwind and that you're a little bit crazy, you are. I'm not gonna lie to you. You definitely are. But you're probably not crazy just because. There are reasons, and you can find those reasons, and you can work on those reasons. And you don't always have to be in the wind tunnel, and you can be in that wind tunnel for years, like I was. But as you discover things about yourself, as you learn to grow and to change and to adapt, you are going to be able to get through it. The windstorm will eventually crack. You just need to keep pushing forward. That's all you
It's
can do.
awesome.
Keep pushing, keep learning, keep growing, keep evolving. You'll get there.
Before we go, you
Mhm.
promised me that you were gonna show me something that you found.
Yes.
I've
So,
been waiting for it for almost an hour.
so my mother was my biggest supporter, like I've said before. She was my biggest backbone. ever, and I'm kind of sad that she passed before she could see me becoming who I am now. Because I guess I'll always have that lingering question on if I just left her disappointed, because when she died, I still didn't know who I was yet. And while I was cleaning up and moving things around, all the furniture around the house, getting my space prepared and Michael's space prepared, I found something that looked out of place. And so I picked it up, and it's a Christmas present
Oh, look at
for my
that.
mom.
From her to you?
No, for her.
Oh,
She never
oh,
got to open it. She never got to see what this was. Um, and I had been debating a little bit about what to do with this. And I think what I'm going to wind up doing is keeping it to put under my Christmas tree every year so that she
yes,
can kind of
yes.
be there. But what I wanted to do on the show was to carefully unwrap it together before I rewrap it and see what my mother got for Christmas.
Let's see that, please.
Okay. Now I have to be like really careful, so that this might take a little bit of effort. And
That's okay.
I do have yeah, I do have tape, so I can tape everything back down together again. But I'll rewrap it after the show. Come on, pop. I'm just glad that whoever did this did not wrap it in like 15 yards of tape. They just have
No,
it
that's
on
what
the ends like a decent human being.
I don't wrap in 15 yards, but I use a not I don't use so much tape, but I use a ton of paper. Like I'll wrap the thing 3 or 4 times because it just never looks right when I do it. I am not a rapper. My wife is a pro rapper. She'll make that it looks like it was done at Macy's or something.
Oh, this is gonna be a little rough, but that's fine. Like I said, I
I think
will
that's
get it
sweet,
rewrapped.
keeping it under the tree. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and probably whenever my dad passes, I'll probably wrap something for him too. I'll probably wrap one of his seashells that he loves so much.
Is that his collection?
Yeah, my father is listen, none of us have ever been tested for anything in this family when it comes to like mental health, but I think he has all the hallmarks of somebody on the autism spectrum, and that I followed in his lineage with that.
I think we're all on the damn spectrum in one way or another. There's no such thing as normal. There's no such thing as somebody who's all put together. You see that guy walk, "Oh, what'd you get? What is it? Show me.
It is
I
it
gotta see
is
it."
a box of Kleenex, and
I love it.
it says, just to let you know, we are thinking of you, the Macedonia Baptist Church Day, Women on Mission, and the Joy Sunday School class
Wow.
from her Sunday school class. The
That's
gift she
beautiful.
never got was Kleenex.
But it's not the box. It's not what's inside the box.
It's
It's the
not.
box. I mean, there's a nice message
Yeah,
on there. It's she would have got a laugh
yeah.
out of it, right? You think?
I, she might have thought it was a nice sentiment, but I think she also would have laughed that it was a box of tissue.
Of course. Of course.
That is the funniest thing. I seriously thought it was going to be socks or something.
Oh, you okay, now we have it's
I'm sorry.
official. You no, you have to come back on the show and show us it under the tree every year now.
Or at
Lisa,
least send
you
a picture in.
please do.
Yeah.
You've been gracious enough to open up and really share some stuff with us that's not always easy to share. And I
Yeah.
really do appreciate that. You are sorry, I'm getting it here. You're an inspiration. You're a wonderful person, and I just can't thank you enough for doing this. Uh,
I
I
can't
hope to
thank you
get you
enough
on
for
back
having
on.
me.
I mean, we love you. We can't wait to get you back on the Fat and Spicy show. We can't wait to see you again here, maybe in a year or so. Check up on you, see how things are doing. But this has been wonderful. Thank you for joining us, guys. That's it. This is the last sip. This is behind the pint. Thanks for joining us today. Keep your spirits high and your pints full. Till next time. Bar is closed.